Good evening. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? I'm assuming Vicky's telling me she can't hear me, but I can't hear anyone. Sorry. Okay, I'm unmuted, but I still can't hear anybody in the room. I have my volume on my iPad completely up as high as it'll go. I don't know what else. I go to my settings maybe. Can you just lay your phone up on and put me on speakerphone?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. I have no idea. That's why I tried to deal with this 45 minutes ago, because I knew this was going to happen. I can hear Vicky. I can hear Vicky just fine like that, Dave. Yep.
Okay. All right.
The gavel. It's all good.
You know what?
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Oh, that didn't work.
Okay, the volume just came on my iPad now, right now.
Okay, so you can hang up. He hung up. Okay, thanks.
I'm good now. I can hear you just fine. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there. So
Okay, so I think we can approve the agenda as all those in favor.
All right.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. So Joe, did you hear that we were working on approving the agenda? So somebody's there's some reverberation here.
From Joe.
Okay, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on. We have the consent agenda next, the minutes from the May 16th meeting. We can approve all of the following here if you've had a chance to look over the items on the agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Dave, please poll the board.
Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted, Yes. Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
I passed. Okay. So, let's see. The next thing is the regular agenda. We're going to recognize the audience, any people who have come to make public comments who are not on the agenda. I will read just briefly the procedures for the public comments. We ask that each speaker who has signed up to address the board come up to the microphone and state their name and address for the record. We would also ask that speakers refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about a specific employee by name. The board is interested in your comments and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond to or debate issues in this forum. Should you desire a written response to a specific question, you may request it. This evening, each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. At some point of order, if any speaker wishes to talk later in the agenda, comments are limited only to the agenda item at hand, and the speakers must first be recognized by only the Fargo Park Board President before coming to the microphone. Otherwise, the speaker may be ruled out of order. The Fargo Park Board President, however, does not need to engage in dialogue with the additional speakers. We ask that you respect this request and act accordingly. Are there any who are not on the agenda that it would like to speak?
Yeah, how does can you explain in terms of how that policy works for you guys?
Yeah.
Because for me, I fear
Can you do us a favor? Go up to the microphone. If you want to speak, if you want to go up to the microphone, did you sign your name in?
I'd rather not, because issues at Yonkers Farms.
Okay,
so-
well, why don't you just,
Well,
just go up and state your name, and then we will get back to you a little later when the item comes up that you'd like to discuss. But we would appreciate knowing,
we wait.
no, just say who you are, and
Name's
then,
Elijah. I've been gardening up at Yonkers for 10 years. I started because one of my friends committed suicide. I've been doing it as like pretty much therapy for myself. And to see the master plan put in place with what I see for you guys, bunch of well-to-do peoples, your hands don't look like this. I've been in the soil for umpteen hours today, working, and to see that master plan to destroy that area of the garden, why don't you just raise it up, regrade it, go in, wait until maybe the end of the garden season to finish your master plan? So there's a bunch of milkweed, morning glories, everything. I'm a little frustrated because this is a final decision for the master plan. So to see you guys or Norse Design to put the gardens up where there's trees, you're gonna be ripping a bunch of trees out instead of just fixing what's there. You
okay,
guys,
Elijah, can we get back to this when that issue comes up?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We can't do that unless you're in front of the microphone. So why don't you just wait? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the executive director's report.
All right, thank you, Madam President. A couple items that are new between our weekly overviews. Village West Park reconstruction began this week, so that's always a good sign when we reconstruct our asphalt trails to concrete trails. In the Recreation Department, all of our recreation programs started last week. We also had Midwest Kids Fest on Friday. I had a great turnout. Talked to Commissioner Dawson a little bit about the pickup after, but it was a good turnout. And then coming up next Monday night, we have our annual Trout Fest out at Woodhaven Pond, and that's the North Pond. So we always get a lot of kids up there. Golf update. The Discover Junior Golf Tournament started this week with 2 events. The first one was at Village Green over in Moorhead, and the second one was out at Alzagle. We had 44 participants in the event at Village Green and 56 at Alzagle. So that was a good turnout for our first 2 tournaments of the year. And then just on a sad note, our longtime park foreman, Matt Wolf, passed away this past weekend. Matt had worked full-time for the Park District for 42 years, and that's a long time. Retired in 2000. I came to the Park District in 1999, so had the pleasure to work with Matt for about a year, and really got to know him after he retired, because then he came back and worked for the Park District for another 19 years as a part-time employee during the summer months. He was always out kind of he kind of had all that knowledge, so it was great benefit for us. And his combined dedication of 61 years of service is a pretty impressive legacy that will endure throughout the Park District family for years to come. So I know, Brian was plus 30 years, and so that's pretty impressive, 42 years. Just an FYI, if anybody is interested, we can get more details, but there's a prayer service on Thursday, and the funeral will be this Friday. So, like I said, it's sad to hear about that. So that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm assuming we'll do some flowers or something.
Correct.
Okay.
So next, a very exciting presentation by Judy Lewis, the Executive Director of the Fargo Moorhead Community Theater.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Are you going to do this in theater style, Judy?
Absolutely. Shall I sing a song for you? All right. I'm Judy Lewis, and I'm the Executive Director at the Fargo Moorhead Community Theater. And first, I just want to say thank you so much for the many years that the park hosted our little theater in the park. When I first moved here, many of you know I'm not really from here. I feel like I'm from here now because this is home. But when I would stand in that gazebo and look out at that park, that was just my favorite place to be. So it's sad that it's gone, but it is exciting that we can continue to partner. And I look forward to being able to partner with the park in the future. Well, your park is finally going to be returned to you by the end of June. I am so loud. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm a projector. I need to be back here. By the end of June, we will be taking that fence down, and everything is looking beautiful, and it will grow grass and be hilly and rolly again. The things that have happened for FMCT since then, that's just a list of moves. We have been nomads like we were 77 years ago. FMCT is 77 years old, and we have been moving all over the FM area, and it's been a lot. So we're about to move into another space, which I hope will be our final rehearsal space, our final studio space, because MCM, where we've been rehearsing, is getting torn down too. I hope it's not me. I don't know, could be. So that's coming down, and so we're moving again to another studio out at 13th and 9th, which we're really excited about. This is our season next year. We are going to have another big season. I'm really excited about Saturday Night Fever. Hope you'll all come and see it. We all know that music, right? Absolutely. Fever Night, Fever Night, Fever. And it's going to be a really fun season. Over the last 2 years that we've been in the MCOMST, we have engaged over 80,000 people at the MCOMST. It has been incredibly successful there. We have thousands of children who come on Saturdays, and right now, I just left when I came here, I think there were 60 young people inside the MCOMST having a great time making theater, so that was exciting. And this is a sneak peek at our new home on MP Avenue. So that is what the outside of the building is going to look like. And this right here will be our entrance to the theater. And the theater space will go all around that corner, and this where you can see that it's tucking down, is the actual roof of the theater. And right here, this little green space right here is the green space between NDSU's Renaissance building and what will become our space. And so that'll be a little outside space for the students to use to be able to do whatever they'd like to do. We're gonna put a little, yes.
So is that a false front, or there are apartments or condos on the front of that?
Yeah, there, wouldn't that be funny if it was a big facade? It is, yeah, it's wrapped. This is all wrapped in apartments, and it goes over to here, and this is wrapped in apartments as well, but there are 480 parking spaces behind those apartments, so all of the parking lot is wrapped as well. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful space. This is the outside of the block, what I was just pointing out to you. This is the railroad track. This is the Northern Pacific Avenue, and this is the parking lot that is going to be wrapped in the apartments. This is where the theater will be. This is that little green space, and this is NDSU's building, the Renaissance building. So that's what that block will look like. And the alley will remain, and this is the old Broadway. This is our old studio space, just down the street from right here. And that's what the outside, the south end of the building looks like, what I was just talking to you about. NDSU's building is right here. This is the inside of our theater space, which used to, the plan was for that to be sort of a courtyard, but because we didn't want to have roof problems. Yeah.
Go figure.
One more time for me. They couldn't put any apartments above that. And that is the inside of the theater. It's a thrust stage, just like the stage was in Island Park. And the opening is significantly larger. It's a 45-foot opening instead of a 32-foot opening proscenium. And the seating is 420 seats. We were 360 in the theater in Island Park. And then all of our education classes will take place right in this area and in this area. And this is a rehearsal studio space that's the same size as the stage, which is wonderful in the theater. And that's it. Thank you for listening. That's all I've got. I stayed under my time, right? Any questions?
Yeah, what's the timeline?
We're going to break ground in October. And then it'll take 11 months to build the building. And after that, it'll take us another 12 months to build out the interior.
Sounds great. Yeah, I've heard you're doing really well over the MCOMs.
We really are. It has been a real joy. We just had our annual meeting last night, and we decided to have a party. So we invited the FM Kicks Band to come and the Lindy of the North. And so we had a big old Lindy Hop party. So there are a couple hundred people in there swing dancing. There were people I have never seen in my life before in there. So that was exciting that the Lindy Hop brought a whole new group of people to FMCT and to the MCOMs. So it's been good. 80,000 people is a pretty big number. The first year we were just under 40,000 engagements at the MCOMs, and then this last year we went over 40,000 engagements.
How do those numbers compare to what you were doing at the Island Park location?
At the Island Park location, we were at a little over 19,000 engagements.
That's what I thought.
A couple of questions or maybe points to help, you advertise a little bit too. So how are you funded? How does the community support you? How can the community support you?
Well, if anybody has $1 million, I am happy to take it, or $5. We'll take $5. If anyone would like to donate to FMCT for the capital campaign, you can either call me, email me at judy@fmct.org, or just go to our website at fmct.org. Also, if anybody is in a position to invest, Kilbourne is offering, the Kilbourne Group is one of the partners, they are offering a really great opportunity for people to invest and get a really large percentage back over a 10-year period of time. So if anybody's interested in that, you could reach out to me and I will connect you with Mike Almendinger, who will explain it all so that it makes sense.
Awesome. And then the other, oh, there we go. That's better. Thank you, Carolyn. What would you say, like percentage of adults to kind of children? You know, I think it seems like from just an outside observer, it's a little more adult actors, adult productions. But what kind of percentage would you say?
That's a great question. In the summer, it's very, very student heavy. And what we do, like we just closed, we did an 11-day run of the Hello Girls, which was the most beautiful musical about World War I have ever seen. Please listen to the score if you like musicals. So we're taking that tomorrow, we're leaving to take that show to Harvey. And then after that, we're going to take that show to Wofford City because we believe that we are very fortunate and we should give to other communities the ability to have a community theater. So our adults do that while the students, the children are in the hundreds owning the summer at FFCT. And then during the year, we have the Christmas show has a mix of adults and children. So during the year, the main stage is probably 90% adults and 10% children. But every Saturday is about 200 children every Saturday in classes through the school year.
Yeah, just
Judy, I know when you were looking at remodeling in Island Park, you talked about a black box theater. Is that part of this site or in West Fargo or Moorhead?
Well, the rehearsal room that I said is the same size as the main stage down on the left side of your screen. That space can function as a black box, but we also want to continue to keep the MCOMST because we've activated a large part of not only Fargo. We have 150 students out in West Fargo at West Fargo Parks that we are collaborating with. So that happens every summer, and they will perform, some of them, in the MCOMST. And we want to keep that as a black box for artists in the community who can't afford a space to perform in, because every time we're not doing a show, we let anyone use the stage for $25.
Well, when I drive by Island Park, I certainly miss the theater, but
Me
this is really exciting. I bet you're very pumped up about getting in there. It
Yeah, I'm
looks
pretty
great.
excited. Thank you. Thank you. It's pretty excellent. Pretty excellent. But I still have my eye on those stairs. I want to do a show on that tennis court so badly in Island Park. It's screaming for theater.
But not January.
No, not in January, -45.
Well, thank you for all you do. I think theater is really important, and a lot of people probably don't know I was choir and theater as a kid all the way up till my senior year in high school was West Side Story. So I was playing basketball and then would kind of switch over and go to rehearsal. And I think it's just really, really important to have a strong, vibrant theater community, arts community as well. And for the record, you can play sports and, put makeup on and sing in the choir.
That's right. You sure
And,
can.
it's fantastic. So thank you for all the work. And this is super exciting.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Judy.
Judy.
Thanks, Judy.
Next, we have a department update, aquatics.
We had a lot of fun today.
I know.
Yeah.
For the record, I didn't have to put eyeliner. My eyelashes were long enough or whatever. I didn't have to do that.
As you notice, Dave's nice new shirt.
I was trying to figure out something to say, but I couldn't come up with anything.
The last 2 times I've seen you, you've been wearing festive shirts. I'm wondering what's going on.
It's
Summer.
Comfortable. Tori doesn't get recognized. Thought I should say hi to Tori. Well, thanks, commissioners. I'm Dave Klunt. I think you all know myself. Isabel Sinkler started this year with us. She had worked for us as a lifeguard and worked her way up to pool manager. And she is now working full-time with us in aquatics and recreation. So exciting times. So tonight, we're going to give you an update on our aquatics. We have the 5 outdoor pools. The one is currently under construction, Island Park Pool. And we have the 3 of us, full-time staff, including Dean Feldman in that. Our operations team does a phenomenal job getting those pools ready. Dean is very instrumental in that. And I believe there is a second person, because Riley went and left us, so good riddance to her, I'm kidding. So very happy to have one full-time person, usually 2. And then we have our 100-plus seasonal part-time staff, which is made up of pool managers, assistant managers, head guards, lifeguards, swimming instructors, and cashiers and concession staff. And then just a rundown of last year, season passes that were sold. That was the first year that we switched over from the patches to the key tags, which I believe was very successful. People don't no longer have to sew it onto a suit or a towel. So we've moved into the 21st century with our pool passes.
Dave, are those scholarship passes, those are youth passes or the bottom
Yes,
line there?
Yes, our scholarship program, if anybody doesn't know, we have a youth scholarship program, which we've had for, I think, going on 20 years now. And that program is basically any child age under 18 who's a Fargo resident, whose family qualifies for the free or reduced school hot lunch program, can get 1 or 2 programs, the fee waived per season.
And a lot of them pick the pool.
We have a lot of them. It's probably 85% of our scholarships are pool passes. So a great way for those kids to
Build the summer.
have some fun in the summer.
Absolutely.
Just to let you know, the Foundation Golf Tournament raised $15,000 for that scholarship program that will go into that budget, which is nice.
Very nice.
Yep.
That's us. You want to chat?
Our biggest pool right now is Davies, way down south. The biggest amenities that we have there is 2 large water sides, a 0 depth area, a large playground feature, which is pictured in the picture right there. That's a 400-gallon water bucket that dumps on kids every so many minutes. That seems to be a hot commodity there. There's a climbing wall that's not pictured that is at our deepest part of our pool. And then we have a large deck area and concessions. Our hours there are Monday through Friday, 1 to 5 and 6 to 8. And on the weekends, it's 1 to 5. And the admission is same price at Davies, South and North. $425 for a one-time pass, $550 for an adult. And then 10 punch pass, $38.25 and $49.50.
And what do you have on this weekend? The first?
Yeah, the first pool party ever we have at Davies. So that's exciting. We're excited for that.
Like a birthday party?
Yeah, the birthday party. The rentals are new this year, so we're excited to get those started.
That was Isabel's idea to start the birthday parties at Davies and South. So
What kind of goes along with the rental, or what do people rent?
So what we've done is, since we have multiple shade structures at those 2 pools, we're designating one of them as a rentable. And a group can have, at that pool, we have room for 40. We have 5 tables that have room for 8 at each table. So they can have up to 40 people. And we'll let them come in 15 minutes before we open. They can set up if they want to do a little decorating. They can bring in their own cupcakes, cake, things like that. And they get that shade structure for that whole session.
What do they block? Is it like 2-hour chunks or something like that, or minimum?
They get the afternoon session 1 to 5, the whole afternoon, or the
Wow.
evening session 6 to 8.
Cool. Good
And then we
idea.
came up with some fun little covers for the picnic tables, fitting ones.
Like your shirt?
Not quite as bright, they're blue. Good question though, Aaron.
What did, you may have mentioned this, is the price for those rentals?
$300 for the afternoon and I think it's $225 for the evening.
Thank you.
And how many passes, Dave, do they get for kids to come for that price?
They get up to 40 people that can be part of that rental at Davies. It's 32 at South because we have a smaller shade structure that has room for 4 tables. So that's just a picture from the sky of our pool and large deck area. That was with the old umbrellas that all went flying in a storm a few summers ago. One of them found its way to the football field across the parking lot. So happy to have shade structures. My turn. Madison Pool and Splash Pad is basically it's a neighborhood pool with what I would call a small box of water, a separate wading pool. And then about 15 years ago, we added a small splash pad. And there's some fun little features on that splash pad. And the hours of that pool are 1 to 5, 7 days a week. And we have a little lower admission fees there than we do our recreational pools because we don't have any water slides. Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of people that come to that pool anymore. So we've got some ideas that we'll talk about later.
There's it from an aerial standpoint. So very small, but good for the community that's out there.
Mhm.
Our next one is Roger G. Grasshead Northside. That's up at North High School. The amenities there is a large water slide in the background. There we only have one water slide. And then a smaller water slide, I guess, on the play structure for the kids. Zero depth entry as well, and then concessions and same hours and rate as Davies.
All right. Our other pool is Southwest Recreational Pool. And this was redesigned back in 1999. We've been reopened since 2000. And it was basically because when we opened the Northside Recreational Pool and we had so many people enjoying it, that was the reason this became a rec pool. And the numbers have been great ever since. So we have a large water slide there, small slide, the zero depth area, the play features, playground, water drop, concessions. So a lot of fun features at that pool. Just a little larger pool, has a little more swimming area, and turned out, I think, really well because it was
going forward. North is at 15,000 and then south is at 21,000.
We had mentioned earlier the question about the pool parties, so this is, again, Isabel's creation, which I think is great. Adding the option for pool parties, we've probably got about 15 so far that are,
Reserved.
yeah, reserved.
Awesome.
Nice.
So first one will be this Saturday at Davies. So
What are you seeing as the age group of the birthday kids?
you know, since we haven't, probably we haven't actually had one yet, so haven't had a chance to see the specific rentals because it's just one individual that makes the rental. So that's my guess, though. It'll be that grade school.
Jerry,
type
you got a
kids.
summer birthday?
No, I don't.
No.
The ones that I've seen so far say like happy 5th birthday, happy 7th birthday, happy 9th birthday. So I would say between the 5 and 10.
Sure.
That would have been my guess too. So.
Yeah.
Swimming lessons, we offer indoor lessons at South in the spring and in the summer. We have a couple spring sessions, 3 summer sessions. And then we're up at North also in the summer offering indoor lessons. It's been a great partnership with the schools. They allow us to use their indoor pools for lessons. And Madison, in recent years, we added outdoor evening lessons. We're not able to do all the different levels, but we're able to do, for the beginning swimmers, levels pre 1 and 2. And we've gotten really solid numbers since we implemented those lessons in the evenings. Outdoor lessons in the mornings are not ideal, but in the evenings, they've worked out really well at Madison.
Have you been, how has it been not having Island Park this summer for lessons? Didn't you have morning lessons at Island Park Pool?
In recent years, we ended up reducing our morning lessons because a lot of our staff are younger. So we actually didn't have outdoor lessons at Island the last, I think, 3 summers.
I think the FM Gators used Island Park in the morning, right? There
Uh,
was a
they're-
morning
they're
lesson.
normally there
6 to
7 to
8 or
9.
7 to 9, yeah.
Yeah, that's when it's really chilly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lap swimmers and kids on swim teams, because they're in the water the whole time, the air temperature doesn't have to be all that warm, but I think the rest of us think they're a little crazy, but so be it.
I took swimming lessons at 8 o'clock in the morning at Harry Hall, and my mom didn't care that my lips were blue. So
You're gonna have to talk to your mother about that, Dr. Joe.
Your mom was watching you. She was wearing a hoodie.
I'm just glad that no kids are being tortured now. That's good.
All right.
And then we do offer not just outdoor aquatics. In the summer, we do winter indoor swim. So Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 5, December through March, if anyone wants to swim. There's a diving board there. It's at South High indoor pool. And the cost is $325 for youth, $450 for adults. And then if a family comes, wants to swim as a family, they can come for $9. Again, Courts Plus members are free. So that's always fun.
And it's a great way to get your Boy Scout swim tests done.
Very true. It's not overly busy, so yeah, if you're a lap swimmer that wants to come in the winter or just a small group, works out really well because we probably average about 30 people a day at that pool. All right, we'll talk aquatics wish list. So first one's probably not really a wish list. That's going to happen. First part of it. So excited that the new Island Park pool is going to open summer of 2025. And our goal in the aquatics department would be we'd like to have a plan in place. We're working on actually a master plan. We'd like to see Madison converted to just a larger splash park, that we could add a small slide, some more fun play features there. Benefits of that would be you don't have to have lifeguards, so splash pads are able to open sooner in the summer and open later in the summer because we are very limited with our pools. Our staff are all students who typically are athletes, so it's not just the school schedule, but it's the athletic schedule that we have to follow. So you could remove that with at least one splash park in our district, and hopefully down the road add maybe 2 or 3 other splash parks. And I think that would set us very, in the long run, Fargo Parks, I think, would be in a great place, aquatics, with our 4 large pools and 2 to 4 splash parks added around the community.
And
So
when
on-
Dave,
oh, go ahead.
when Dave's talking about master plan, that's internal conversations. That's not hiring an architect or anything. That's just internal conversations we've had, so.
Well, I was going to ask too, on that note, on kind of the community perspective, the other surrounding communities from a number of pool perspective, I believe what Moorhead has just one community pool, and West Fargo also just
Correct.
one
Yep,
one
they each
outdoor.
have one outdoor pool.
And so, yeah, it's one of those things, I think you kind of think about that in the context of the greater community, right? That we're kind of providing a lot of, I mean, some of these numbers too, right? It's not just Fargo residents, but it's the community residents who are utilizing these pools. And even the Island Park going, all the conversations, I think that's going to be a massive draw from the whole area with those slides and how unique that will be.
I agree.
So, for instance, at Madison, where you would be reducing availability of the pool itself, how would the fees change? Would they be less then?
What I've seen in splash parks is, like, West Fargo has a real small splash park with some real basic features. They don't charge. Some of the newer splash parks have added slides with run out features, like the large bucket we have at Davies, different versions of that. And typically those do have a fee. And that'd be something we need to do some further research on what that exact fee is. But I also, if my decision, I would also have it fenced, because a lot of these people are bringing very, very young children. And a lot of those young children will see something out in the park and tend to run. So I think it'd be safer for those children and the adults with them to have the facility fenced.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
We are excited too, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Bill Mahar and Carolyn Boutain, who are, the board will be receiving the final report regarding the Yunker Farm Master Plan.
Give us a few minutes here as we set this up.
Here you are.
If Judy was here, she could put on a musical number while we're waiting. But since she's not, Aaron,
Yeah.
would you like to revive your role from West Side Story?
No, thanks.
We could do a duet. You want in too?
Yeah. Just snap.
I didn't take us very long.
Yep, good thing.
So I believe this is the right one, yes? All right. As you've seen in your packet, the Yunker Farm Master Plan is here to be presented with the final recommendations from Norris Design. This was a process that had started last year, and Bill is here to share with you the results from all of the research that he has done with his team and the community.
Thank you, Carolyn. Well, it's great to be back here, and it's a little bittersweet to be done with it, but we're really excited. We appreciate the opportunity to work on this on behalf of the Fargo Park District and the greater community. In May, I presented to the Facilities Committee about a lot of the process and planning, if you may recall, and so I'm not going to focus on that tonight, but I'd be happy to answer any questions about that. And tonight, I want to share with you our final concept, renderings, observation about the project, and recommendations and some trends. I'm not intending to show the whole plan, but just sections of it. And eventually, I assume the master plan will be placed online for the public
already.
to view. Perfect. Look at you. But before I get too far along, I would really like to thank the staff, Carolyn, Dave Leaker, Kelly, and Tyler in particular, for our weekly conversations and helping us move things along. And also to the rest of the staff for your input through this. We appreciate the guidance and throughout the process and commitment to ensure we provide, various opportunities to engage the public. And I also like to thank the board for meeting with me this past winter and gaining feedback from them. So wanted to share with you, just to recap, you may have seen this slide before, but what is, development of a park master plan? So what we were charged is to develop a comprehensive long-range plan that will provide guidance for the development of future park improvements and programs. What you see tonight is not set in stone. This is not construction drawings. It's not happening tomorrow. So it's a roadmap for the park district and the residents of Fargo to further enhance and investigate and come to refinements through this process. But I wanted to share a little bit about what are some of the steps we went through. We went through the inventory and analysis of the current site infrastructure, did a deep dive on that, really understood the site, walked the site numerous times, pretty much know where every tree is on that park. And it's a big park, it's 55 acres. And credit to the staff, we did a very robust, in my opinion, public and stakeholder engagement process, which I'll share a little bit more stats about that. That was a priority to them, and I appreciated their commitment to that to make sure there was a wide net cast to the public for the option to attend and provide feedback if they so choose to. This plan establishes goals and vision and action steps, which you'll see, and what are the focus areas. Because some of the park you want to have activated, and one of the special things about Yunker Farm Park is it's a bit unique. It's a bit more passive park. So we try to balance, as you'll see, where the places should be activated and where it should be more passive, harkening back to the way it currently is. Concepts and diagrams and visualizations to help the public understand what the vision is. And then the master plan report that you'll have in your packet and is online. And we provided some very high level cost estimates, and those by no means are finalized. They give you an understanding of how much, what costs are you generally looking at for these amenities. And as I understand it, this park is not going to start tomorrow. There's no bulldozer going out tomorrow, but the plan is for a number of years that will be decided down the road of what the time frame looks like and where you will start on the project. But those cost estimates will give you an understanding like, okay, this is how much maybe we should start looking at budgeting. And we also involved coordination with the National Park Service. As you know, they have jurisdiction on this property. So I want to tell a little bit of a story about some of the unique qualities of the park. I thought I knew Yunker Farm Park because I'm a former resident of Fargo and used to work here. But this process really showed us how special it is and how unique the park is. And we can't lose sight of those things. And we need to embrace them and bolster them and take care of them and bring them forward in these new amenities. You have a as you know, a long-standing group of partners out there from the community garden groups, the Botanic Gardens, the dog park. NDSU has done research plots over there since the early 90s. And that has resulted in determination of American elms that are resistant to Dutch elm disease. This park and its history has a wonderful history of people coming together. So that's a really important thing you don't see very often in parks. So celebrate that and the creativity that is out there. You see some of the photos when I was out there this summer, just the chalk art alone, it just randomly appears. And nature and family and including the pets. The dog park's very popular. And through the community engagement, we really saw how important all ages and abilities are to the population and how people, young or old, use the park. And obviously, it's a part of our cultural history here in the FM area with the Yunker farmstead and the existing farmhouse. Oh, that's not good. There we go.
That's what it looked like at dark.
That is, yeah, don't go there then. And so I just wanted to give a brief on the project timeline. We've been working on this perhaps for about 8 months, started in later September with our first public input meeting on site at the Botanic Gardens. And then we had a couple, 2 other public input meetings, one in November, one in February, and we've had various workshops with the staff and conversations and meetings with stakeholders throughout. And then most recently, we met with the Facilities Committee in early May, and now we're here tonight. So as I mentioned, the public engagement process has been very robust. I was very impressed in my work in Denver and along the Front Range in Colorado and around the country. I honestly don't see this level of participation on these types of projects. And so that is, I commend the staff for ensuring and making sure that there was a wide net to get people interested, give them the option to participate either online or in person. So as you can see on the slide in front of you, the numbers of surveys filled out, open-ended survey responses, people in attendance at the public meetings, and I think it might even be higher than that number, but that's the numbers that we got to sign in on sign-in sheets. And through that, on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see some of the overarching themes that we heard from the public and stakeholders: nature, agriculture, botanic, recreation amenities, community education. Additional notes we heard: year-round activities, kid-friendly activities. And I hope you'll see in the renderings that we'll be providing in the master plan how we have included those themes in physical manifestations on the site. So a little bit more on the public stakeholder engagement. And so here's the usual suspects out of the staff. And I think I see you there, Vicki. At a couple of our public engagement meetings that, as I mentioned, were well attended. And I just wanted to share through that engagement process, a lot of the comments that we asked and people talked about really boiled into these 3 areas. What does the public value about the park? What needs improvement? What are their new ideas and vision for the park? Pretty logical themes that came up, but that is where we heard people most. And then moving on to the master plan process, that engagement process and that early analysis process of walking the park in January, and understanding it a little bit more, really arrived at these guiding principles. What is really important, and what are these principles that are going to drive the physical layout of the plan and the overall amenities? Well, we arrived at taking all that data, all those 800 comments online or the posted notes, and community and recreation, develop a park environment for all ages and abilities that brings the community together to participate in active and passive activities that support their health and well-being. It was very important, ranked very high. Education and the arts, that's already embedded for many years in Yunker Farm Park. People want to continue that. Create opportunities to build on the education and create a spirit of Yunker Farm Park through ways that inspire and educate. It's fun when you go out there, you'll see little birdhouses made probably by Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts over the years. Just these little gems. You got to look a little harder, but they're there, and that's important to this park. And community agriculture and nature. The community gardens have been there for approximately 30 years, 250 plots. That's very impressive. I commend the Park District for keeping that program alive and sustaining that over the years. That is a wonderful community. And you'll see how we have reincorporated that to hopefully make that a better community for them. And the respect for nature in the park and celebrate that. So moving forward, all of that information distilled down into these few things about the park. The park is 55 acres. It's a big park. And how do you program that? How do you design that? So you have to take a step back and look at the proportion of it and figure out one of the great qualities of the park is the passive nature of the park. We can't lose that, but where can we activate it? And so what working with the staff, we realized there are these kind of three key nodes. One on the south area, the activity node, which is the existing entrance. How can we improve the entrance so people know they're there? Get excited like, I've arrived at Yunker Farm Park. And then we heard a lot from the public about activity nodes. They want to be, there's a lot of people want to have passive spaces and something new, something they bring their families to. With the closure of the Children's Museum, that resonated. People want a new opportunity to bring their families there and celebrate and have a fun day. So you'll see how that manifested. And then the activity node in the north. The north we determined has been a passive area, and we feel it should remain that way too. Kind of that energy area is in that central part of the park. So this is the master plan that has been built over all of that information we gathered and analyzed over the months. So I said some of this before, but I'll just repeat it. So we understood the park size, the need to proportionally place things appropriately so they're not too close to each other. You don't want to have passive elements too close to active areas. There's a lot of room, spread things out, but provide parking that is accessible throughout. And you can see on the south end of the west side of the property along University Drive, we put in a very ambitious parking lot that extends from right here, a larger area, all the way along here, and then kind of a dogleg that goes up to serve the community garden. So they have closer parking. That was important. Circulation was, very important for this process of creating these loops that would go around the park. Small loops, bigger loops, 5Ks, community walks, just taking a stroll. And the idea of passive and active uses, and I have mentioned that before. Create those nodes. I'll get this down eventually, trust me. They're all different wherever you present. We wanted to, as I mentioned, create just open meadows where people could fly a kite, have a volleyball game, have a picnic, and then more program spaces. That's what makes great parks. They don't need to all be busy everywhere. They should have a nice balance. And then programmed and unprogrammed, just what I was saying. Program spaces and just a place to kick around a ball. And the need for park features and amenities, and as I mentioned already, good parking and access that doesn't over-empower the site, but is nearby. People still might need to walk a little bit, but it's not too far. We didn't want to extend parking too far into the park. That'd be too disruptive. So, and you have this in your packet, but this breaks down all of the uses of the park. And this is on page 27 of the report. As you see, we moved the dog park from its existing area over here. It just didn't fit in. It got in the way, and then the park district determined to move it over here and perhaps make it even a little bit larger with better amenities. So a win there. And again, please note, this will happen over time. This is not happening this year. And more to come, which the park district can tell you on that process down the road. Maintenance area is up here. Sidewalk and trails network, I already talked about that. Parking lots, community garden plots were aligned here. And we felt the need to put in parking in this area was an important priority, and move the gardens to an area that is centralized, create a community gathering area, and improve them over time. No one's tearing up vegetables right now. Environmental outdoor classroom, which I'll show you in a rendering what that looks like. And the idea of prairie and wildflowers, not throughout the park, but in managed areas. Wouldn't that be fun to celebrate the North Dakota and Western Minnesota landscape in key areas that aren't going to be a maintenance headache? And I'll show you what that looks like. And again, open lawn areas, and then the Great Lawn. Really excited about how this can manifest in the Great Lawn Plaza adjacent to it. And then improve that walkway from the main entrance to the gazebo, kind of create a promenade, maybe put some benches out there, widen the sidewalk, make it a little bit more grand, because this area is different from this north side. So when you're walking here, you hit the gazebo, and then you're into a different park setting. And then work with the Botanic Gardens on their expansion ideas. They have a lot of great ideas for the Japanese garden and other things in the future. And again, the Yunker Farmhouse, again, not a focus of this process, but we did note it in the report that consideration for new uses should be thought about. So this rendering, I'm going to jump back, is shown right here, looking north. And this is just a 3D rendering of how that circulation could look. We have this path here, a wide multi-use path, likely concrete for perhaps walkers and bikers. And then we have the idea of a soft surface path that could go around the perimeter of the park for runners or people that have preferred that because they maybe have, knee issues. And then it's flanked by this prairie or wildflower area and a more managed area and the incorporation of some additional trees. And you can see the community gardens over there on the left. So, and then the idea of the community gardens sits right here. And the idea here was to repurpose them, move them, open up views here, put in parking, and create a kind of a little village for the community gardens into these quadrants, and a parking lot that would serve them and be exclusive and perhaps could be closed on a weekend for a farmer's market or some event, a few times a summer. What a great dual use. And then in the center, a shade structure, learning area for learning about food, to be determined what that exactly will be, but the idea of a little gathering area. And you can see how that looks here. So on the left side of the screen, you can see the parking over here, and then the pavilion, an outdoor learning area, places to sit and gather, share your vegetables. And then this long spine of the sidewalk that goes through the park. And then moving on, the Great Lawn and Plaza area, that kind of wow factor, where people will bring their kiddos and families, family reunions, something to really give back to North Fargo, is in that central part of the area. And this is what it looks like. And so if you can envision the gazebo right here at the southern end, and then there's a shelter belt here off the screen, and then you transition into this new kind of park feeling with a large splash pad. This is kiddo heaven right here. So a lot happening here with shade structures, climbing walls, maybe for teens and preteens, lots of places to sit, little overhead canopies. And again, this is just a master plan to give you the vision to think what it could be, and play structures over here. And it's important practically to have a changing room for the summer due to the splash pad, and also warming space, because there is an idea that the staff brought up of making this a skating loop in the winter. This great lawn is about 200 plus feet long, so it's a large area, but it needs to be large. It's a big park to bring people together for festivals, perhaps an informal concert area, nothing like Blue Stem, but much smaller. And then during the summer, this walkway could be areas for, festivals and pop-up vendors. And then we have a park pavilion over here that could be rented for family reunions, what have you. But the idea is to generate this mix of uses here that could really respond to the community. And then you can see how it fits in with down the park, the community gardens, quite a ways away. And then lastly is the kind of entry plaza. As noted, as you enter from 28th Avenue, you wonder, where is the entrance? With the closure of the Children's Museum, it's even more apparent, like, where do I go? And so we're recommending some amenities, wayfinding, improve the walkway, maybe an archway. So, you know, hey, I have arrived at the entrance of the park on the south. It will help tie together the farmhouse and the community gardens of creating this node of arrival. And then, as I mentioned, throughout the park, these opportunities of not having program spaces, just big lawns where you could fly a kite, have a volleyball tournament, just have some fun. That's what makes great parks. And then moving on to the recommendations section, as you saw, some of the bigger ideas of programming and creating spaces, some of the wonderful things about parks is the small interventions. Programming. You already do a great job and have a great history over the years of programming your parks seasonally. But this park is no different. You're already doing it, but keep doing that. Maybe even adding to it. Festivals, small concerts, farmers markets, winter sports, cross-country skiing, ice skating on the loop. And then a couple pictures we threw in here just to inspire, you know, holiday lights, fall festivals, movable seating like you have at Broadway Square. It really, I think, is a way to bring people together. Partnerships, you do a wonderful job with that already. But think about, you know, park advocacy groups, Friends of the Parks. I see that all over in the work I do. Grant opportunities, which are a part of the park area. And then, you know, some site development best practices. Make this a demonstration park in a sense. I think of the project in Southwest Fargo. I think that did the Fargo project that did a demonstration about water improvement. There are opportunities to do that here. Best practices for water purification and pollinator gardens to improve that habitat, and placemaking. You know, along those trails, consider benches maybe every 100 feet or 300 feet, lighting in appropriate areas, and art installations. Won't this be a fun park to do something, to get an artist involved? You see the examples here on the right of the screen that we put in there, and continue your wonderful work with the Botanic Gardens and helping lead them to their next phase. And don't forget the trends in parks and recreation, because there'll be, you know, those North Stars that help you think about as you start to install and construct elements. Nature play is a great idea. Forest bathing, creating tree planting areas where people can feel very connected to nature. And the idea of health and well-being as a guiding post for all of your amenities. And you know, that speaks back to those walkways and having opportunities for older folks and younger folks to engage the level they want. And then lastly, we had very high level cost estimates included at the end of the report. That just provides an overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. And Carolyn, if you have anything else to add, please do.
Been out there for years. We had a gardener die just recently, and he donated 5,600 pounds of produce to the local pantry. All I see in the master plan is gentrification and money, money, money. Since U32 has been up there, you guys have not improved that Jiffy John. The Jiffy John is more disgusting than the construction site. At least the construction site keeps their facilities clean. And you want to know why you're having low areas or water that's degrading the level, where you've got the other gardens in the back half. That's swamp. That's flooded area each and every year. If you actually brought in proper people and knew what they were doing, actual gardeners, people that have been out there, their input of low areas, that dirt pile that's been out there for years, I've hauled wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow I'm one of the volunteers, and I thank you guys for letting me have my plots each and every year, because I paid, this year was $160, and over the 10 years I've been up there, I've paid over roughly $1,200, and I should be able to voice my opinion, because where you're planning on putting a cart path or that parking area, you're gonna destroy my garden where there's a bunch of milkweed for the butterflies. There's another plot, 1 and 9. I put that up as a memorial garden and just grow a bunch of milkweed. Those tubers grow throughout that entire area. And can't really mention much. I know the president when I was young, the park board. I know Don since I've been in my park experience. I've been born and raised. I know Jeff Dunkelman, so he's in high school with you and just city, recognize his face. And I don't see any of you that
Hey Elijah, I was timing that. That was 2 minutes and kind of going off of sort of the rules of our meetings. I would kind of advise that maybe a discussion after the meeting or connecting with some of our staff or things like that would probably be a helpful idea. If what's that? Wait, no, we kind of have rules of these meetings of like public comment and no, I understand, but we have like Don or Commissioner Morgan read the rules. Was that, well, no, what I'm.
I get threatened by a person with a dog out there without a leash, and I have it recorded, do I go to the cops? Or because of fear of retaliation from the cops even, I may not even report it.
So Elijah,
Yep.
so we're in the middle of a formal board meeting, which requires us to follow a protocol.
Correct.
We are more than happy to talk to you when the meeting's concluded or anytime thereafter.
Yep. So that's
So-
where I was kind of saying,
so-
it's a 2 minute, like the protocol of our board meetings, so the public board meeting. And that's where I was just kind of saying, it's not that we don't want to have a conversation, but just.
It's going to be a lot
Follow the
easier to have a
protocol is kind of what we're saying,
conversation
yeah.
with you back and forth and discuss what you're doing. And then the staff obviously understands, and can tell you better what the leash laws are and what the best action is if somebody does something or anything else that's concerning you. It's a little hard for us to do while we're dealing with board action.
So Elijah, I think Bill would like to finish his presentation. And then after the meeting, you can talk to any number of people here and we can direct you to the right person. Sounds okay?
Because we do want to hear what you have to say and we want
Yeah.
we want to hear your input. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Elijah, for your commitment to the gardens and sharing information about the grading, and that is very noted. I made notes about that. So I'm happy to answer any other questions.
So this is frankly speaking, it's ambitious. There's a lot going on, and I looked at the dollars estimated, and obviously that's pretty significant. Generally speaking, time frame that you would, if you said, you know what, I'm going to plan your timeline for you. 10-year project, 20-year project, 5-year project. I look at this as a very long range plan, but that's me looking out from here.
Yeah, Commissioner, I agree with you on your assessment. It is a long-range plan, and that's what a master plan is. I hope what we have given you is, a cost estimate that you can evaluate and make determinations on where you could start first from a practical perspective. We've had conversations with staff on like where would they start first? What's the low-hanging fruit? What could you do to not disrupt the community gardens right away, but plan for that and have further conversations? Is it moving the dog park we looked at, because it sits right in the middle of an area that maybe needs to be prepped, and we recommended moving it to the north in an area that is less disturbed. That would be a practical location for that to start to be moving. But, I defer to the staff on that. That's not what we're charged with, is
Sure.
we gave them this framework. But those are some of the things we started to discuss a bit.
Yeah, and I envision, you use the dog park as an example. You're going to put the new dog park in place, ideally, before you dismantle the old dog park. Same thing with community gardens or any of the other space, to create one before you take apart the other one. So really to disturb the community as little as possible.
Little as possible. Mhm.
Well, I think this is an excellent plan. I just drove by Yonker Farm just the other day, and, we've got some storage areas of dirt and things out there, and there's, weeds growing, and to see, the activity area toward the right-hand side with the water park and the amenities there, and then into a place where you could have, some outdoor concerts or music or whatever, pop-up food trucks. I just think that it's an underutilized park right now that really, with this kind of plan and putting it in place, would make it just a destination spot.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited about it. And, we've talked many times about the north side and how much we would like to have something wonderful on the north side for those residents. And I think that's one of the reasons that there was such a great response to this from the public, is because they really would like to see something special there. To me, what was the bottom line on that? Did you say, as far as the number? It just went by so quickly. Maybe Vicki.
Are you talking financially?
Yeah,
I don't know if it's on any of these slides, but
I think there
I mean,
was.
there's a couple of phases we're looking at.
Oh, okay. Well, to me, it seems like it would be quite easy to put this into the phases and, step forward and make a commitment and move with it, whenever we're looking at our budget. So, I hope that it doesn't take 20 years, because a lot of the people that were really highly in favor of the project, shrugged their shoulders a little bit when they heard about the timeline. But, I think that the sooner we can get moving on it, the better. And then people will understand that we are actually working on it and we're moving forward with it, and it's going to someday be completed.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love this great lawn concept is or the plaza area is just awesome. This is the event beer, world coming out of thinking about beer festivals and things like that, after you work really hard to try to like educate people on like a product that we're making and how it's grown and how the ingredients come together. And I think this tie into the kind of the food education and community garden and playground, or not playground, but play space. And I just think, I just see that. It kind of reminds me of Broadway Square, right? Obviously bigger and exterior, but where people are just going to kind of be drawn to the inside of that is just kind of this, take your shoes off and just kind of throw a Frisbee or a football or spike ball, as some of the younger kids.
It's
play
one of the
now.
biggest trends in the nation in Parks and Rec, of creating, curating what you grow there and the food that comes from it. And so there's such an opportunity there, because that's part of the park's culture.
Especially in North Dakota and Minnesota, right? We're such agrarian states where people, especially in an urban area like, Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, where maybe people aren't as connected as their, our ancestors were. And so trying to, it sounds weird to educate people as to how it works, but I think there's so many opportunities, and that kind of was smiling the whole time you were going through it. I'm excited. And as a North Sider too, I think even the thoughtfulness of the running, kind of the different sort of, context for the runners, right? And it's things like that. I think North Side people would really appreciate as well.
Yep.
I'm just going to say something quickly. The other thing that I can see that the park district would really appreciate is their ability to cut grass up there. Lots of open space. You don't have to go around so many objects.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is to me more of a park than recreation. It's I like the park feel. It's almost like a version of Island Park, but different. With that, I'll move to receive the final report regarding the Yonker Farm Master Plan and its recommendations.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment. I appreciate the plan, and I appreciate, meeting with you through the process, and having grown up there and seeing different pieces, being utilized. Obviously the garden, obviously the dog park, obviously, there was a football field for the Fargo Public Schools up there at one point. But for you to really lay that whole area out for us, and how to utilize it and how we could utilize it, and to realize the actual footprint that's there that we didn't, necessarily realize in the context that we haven't utilized it to its full extent is appreciated, and actually eye-opening to me. And I also want to point out too that, as we approve the Island Park Master Plan, and recognizing that, I can empathize with Commissioner Morgan in the context that maybe we don't want it to take 20 years to get into full fruition, even though obviously there's going to be significant costs in the process, but recognizing that, this is an initial plan, and as we continue to move through the plan, as we get into more phases, we'll obviously look at certain areas as we go into these phases, and just know that, while if we do accept this, that it's an initial plan with overview from bringing somebody in and with ideas and whatever else. And as we continue to move into each phase, we'll get into more detail and get more community input as we continue to move forward.
I completely agree with Joe. It's a working document, and it's a good starting point. And as we add each thing, no different than Island Park, we're going to use the useful life of the things that are there until they run out of their useful life. And that's when we start moving things and changing things to follow the plan that we have going forward. So,
Yeah, fortunately, there isn't any clutter there now. So, I mean, it's really like a blank slate, and that's appealing in itself. I just love the openness of it.
And maybe before we vote too, just to say thank you for all the work you've done. I've enjoyed working with you, and it's pretty obvious that this wasn't just kind of a job for you. This was, you were connected to it, and it was, enjoyable to work with you through that process. So nicely done.
Yes, thank you. It was great to be back working in Fargo. Appreciated it.
Maybe we'll get you to move back to Fargo someday.
thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
Thanks,
So
Bill.
We still need
We have a
roll
motion
call.
and a second.
Yep. Dave, poll the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to follow up here with Elijah. He is instructed to wait till the end of the meeting to talk to whomever he'd like to. Is there anybody that would like to volunteer to listen to his? Dave Beets, he's right here. He is the Deputy of Operations, and he'll speak to you about your concerns.
Whenever it's convenient for you. If you want to do it now, we can certainly do that, maybe step outside, or if you want to wait till after, that's fine as well. Okay.
Good. Okay, thank you, Dave. So the next is that the board is to consider the approval of terminating Park District of the City of Fargo, the Fargo Senior Commission Incorporated, and the FM Area Foundation Endowment Fund. Paul Grindeland is going to be the presenter.
Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. Before you see the memo I wrote about this fund. In 2005, the Park District in the City of Fargo, the Fargo Senior Commission, Inc., which is now Valley Senior Services, Inc., the Fargo Moorhead Area Foundation, FM Area Foundation, and the Bremer Bank entered into an agreement to establish an endowment fund. This endowment fund, which is also up there, maybe you can forward the slides, a couple more. The copy of the agreement is up there. This fund was, or the agreement had a term of 5 years, which at the end of that 5 years, this fund could be terminated or continued. The current fund balance is $166,672. Kind of the situation with this fund is that it is an organizational liability fund, which means it cannot accept outside contributions. So if somebody wants to give to a senior service agency, they couldn't give to this fund. This fund can only be added to by the organization that owns it. So that would be Valley Senior Services. Because of that, at the May 10th, 2023 meeting of the Valley Senior Services, Inc. Board of Directors, they voted to terminate this endowment fund pending approval from the Park District. I've had discussions, including Susan and Brock and Luke, about this fund and got their opinions on what they thought about this agreement and the fund balances. And so, I'd ask if Brock wanted to say anything, or Susan, please, let me know. But also at the facilities, Commissioner Morgan asked me to do a little research about the money that was given to this fund, and I did find some information. So the original amount of $51,901.92, that was the gift that was given to Valley Senior Services, and that money was used to start this fund. And the trust agreement stated that this bequest is to be used in such a manner as the governing board shall determine. There was another $50-some thousand put in here a couple of years later from another person who utilized all our services for many years, including Meals on Wheels. And there was no stipulation on how the money was to be used. So I infer from the two gifts and the people who gave them, that they intended, the money to be used for the services, and nothing was said about putting it into an endowment fund, in perpetuity and to be used to raise other funds. So I take it that they wanted us to use the funds for our services. If you did agree and we terminated this fund, Valley Senior Services would take the money and at least for a year or some amount of time, we'd put it in a CD and let it gain some interest. But we have plenty of places we could use this money, so to further our services.
So were there any names associated with the two donations?
Yes. The first one was Bernice L. Olson. She gave the money from a revocable trust. That was the original $51,901. And she was a client of ours. Our outreach manager, Bernie Johnson, remembers working with her. And so she was very much a client. We helped quite a bit. And Ruth Urang, U-R-A-N-G, she provided the other $50-some thousand. And she used a lot of our services, including transportation and Meals on Wheels, for a number of years until she passed.
Nice.
So
Good to have that information. That's nice.
Yeah, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for asking. I didn't even think about looking that up, so I appreciate it.
Sure.
So I am asking the Park Board to concur with the action taken by Valley Senior Services, Inc. To terminate this endowment fund and put the money into good use at Valley Senior Services.
Would someone like to
Yep.
make a motion?
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve terminating the Park District of the City of Fargo / Fargo Senior Commission, Inc. and FM Area Foundation Endowment Fund as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Dave? Hold the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye,
Thank you.
passed.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Paul.
Next, we have a report by Joe Deutsch on the completion of the Executive Director's Performance Improvement Plan. Are you ready, Joe?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Gordon, or Morgan, excuse me. I just want to acknowledge that Executive Director Leaker completed his performance improvement plan on the 31st of last month. And I believe that each of the commissioners have all received a packet with his feedback and from that process. And I want to say that we appreciate his work during this time, and want to make sure that everybody's had a chance to review that and continue to review that. And if it's the wish of the commission, we will schedule a special board meeting for hopefully next week or the week after to discuss in more detail.
So we don't need a motion for this, do we?
As long as it's the wish of the commission that would be the plan, no. And I just want to make sure everybody did receive their packet from Dave.
Okay, how do we want to do this?
So I think we just ask Tara to help us schedule a special board meeting. Right?
Jeff, we don't
And
have
then
to schedule a
the
formal
purpose
action
of the
at this point?
meeting is
Okay.
to discuss that we've received Dave's progress and where we go from there.
Yeah, and more detail. So,
And then do we need, are there any kind of like advertising or time?
Yeah,
Do we have to have,
I think
Tara
Tara
will
will
help
take
figure
care-
that out? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, got
Between
it.
Tara and Jeff, they'll tackle that, I think.
Okay, got it. Sounds good.
okay, so
No
let's
objection.
just go this way. All in favor of this process, say aye.
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 Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Go.
So here we are. We're ready to adjourn the meeting. Is everyone in agreement?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Adjourned.
Okay, so moved.
Adjourned.
Buddy.